For what purpose does the gentleman from Florida seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 1418 as amended.
The clerk will report the title of the bill.
Union Calendar Number 80, H.R. 1418, a bill to amend the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act to reauthorize user fee programs relating to new animal drugs and generic new animal drugs.
Pursuant to the rule, the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Bilirakis, and the gentlewoman from Washington, Ms. Schreier, each will control 20 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Florida.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate it. I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks and insert extraneous materials in the record on the bill.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself as much time as I may consume.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in support of H.R. 1418, the animal drug, the animal drug, animal generic, drug, user fee amendments of 2023, sponsored by my good friend, Mr. Pence, and of course, Ms. Schreier on the Democrat side, and they're members of the Energy and Commerce Committee. Our committee has worked hard on this legislation for many months, holding a legislative hearing in March and 2 markups this spring before advancing it out of full committee last month by a vote of 49-0. At each step, our members worked in a bipartisan fashion to consider ways to make improvements to this legislation and keep any controversial policies from getting in the way of passing this bill before its September deadline. Great work. Overall, the ADUFA amendments of 2023 will reauthorize the 2 user fee programs established to support the development and review of animal drugs and generics. These drugs keep our animals healthy, from our household pets to our farms animals, and they ensure that our food supply is safe for humans too. That's how important this bill is. The bill before us also includes provisions to support the review process and getting new drugs to the market faster, and adds new reporting requirements to improve transparency and accountability within the FDA's Center for Veterinary Medicine. It also takes steps to support utilizing the conditional approval pathway for animal drugs, which will bring more drugs to the market for small animal populations with unmet clinical needs. These are even more, more program enhancements. There are more program enhancements contained in these agreements, addressing foreign inspections, fiscal responsibility, and the need for more innovation. If this legislation is not signed into law before September 30th, Mr. Speaker, the review and approval of the medicines that farmers and pet owners rely on will dramatically slow down. We can't let that happen. Drug makers will also face regulatory uncertainty in getting their therapies to the market, impacting access to new cures and treatments. They are relying on Congress to do its job, and we will, which is why I strongly urge support of this legislation and encourage my colleagues to vote yes. I reserve the balance of my time, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman from Florida reserves. The gentlewoman from Washington is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself such time as I may consume. I first want to thank Chair Rogers, Ranking Member Pallone, Representative Bilirakis, and of course Representative Pence, who sponsored this bill together with me, for their leadership and hard work on this bipartisan bill. I am a proud sponsor. The Animal Drug User Fee Agreement is important for the safety of both animal and human health. This bill will accelerate the development of new medications for animals with a predictable and streamlined review process. It'll hold the FDA accountable for performance goals that'll improve wait times for inspections and provide regulatory certainty for innovators and pet and animal owners alike. and it will ensure that our nation's food supply is safe by making sure the medicines that are administered to food-producing animals are safe. I just want to underscore that this bill is a win for everyone, but it is especially good for farmers. In my district, farmers, ranchers, and dairymen rely on these FDA-approved medications to keep their livestock healthy. And for them, keeping animals healthy is not just about their affection for and responsibility for these animals. It's critical for food production, food safety, and their very economic survival. Having timely access to affordable, effective medications is a key part of our domestic food chain, and that's really the heart of our rural economies. I am so happy to go to bat for our rural areas and our agricultural community with this legislation. I encourage my colleagues to vote yes on this important bill, as you know, Mr. Speaker, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman from Washington reserves. The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 5 minutes to the gentleman from Indiana, Mr. Pence, who is the sponsor of the bill, along with Ms. Schreier. So I yield that time. Thank you.
The gentleman is recognized.
Consume whatever you'd like. Thank you.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Congressman Bilirakis. I'm proud to champion the 5th reauthorization of the Animal Drug User Fee Act with my colleague, Congresswoman Schreier. Thank you. This important legislation is critical to ensuring safe and effective drugs for our nation's livestock industry and farm animals for the next 5 years. It provides resources for the review of new and energetic animal drugs, accelerates the development of animal therapeutics, and promotes a more predictable and streamlined review process. It's important we hold the FDA accountable to performance goals that will enhance inspection times and provide regulatory certainty for both innovators and pet owners alike. Farmers, ranchers, and rural communities across southern Indiana rely on veterinary medicines and therapeutics produced by animal drug manufacturers. Innovators in the Hoosier State, like Elanco Animal Health, are leading the charge to keep American farm animals safe and healthy. We need innovation in veterinary medicine to secure the best care for our nation's veterinary patients. This legislation would preserve the security of America's food supply by making certain the medications administered to food-producing animals are safe for animal and human health. I urge support for final passage of this legislation, and I yield back.
The gentleman from Florida reserves.
I reserve, yes.
The gentlewoman from Washington is recognized.
I have no speakers. I'm prepared to close.
The gentleman reserves.
I have no further speakers. I just want to tell you that this is a necessary bill, and I appreciate y'all working in a bipartisan fashion. I know you would like to close. Is that correct?
I'm prepared to close, yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
The gentlewoman from Washington is recognized.
Well, I want to thank you for working together on this bipartisan bill. I encourage my colleagues to vote yes on this bill to make sure we can speed novel medications to animals in this country, and I yield back.
The gentlewoman yields back. The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, this is a great bill. It's a necessary bill for our farmers, but also our animal owners. And I used to be the chair of the Humane Bond Caucus, and we absolutely love our animals. And I appreciate Mr. Pence and Ms. Schreier doing an excellent job on this particular bill, and I urge unanimous passage. Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you. The gentleman yields back. The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 1418? Those in favor, as amended. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended. The bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.